I'm John Wilson. I'm a owner and director of BWB Management. It's a management group that manage a number of farms in northern Tasmania, Juniper Lea being one of those farms.
Hi, it's Luke here. I'm the farm manager at Juniper Lea. Juniper Lea is in its 4th year of milking. We're currently milking 1,000 cows on 260 hectares of irrigation. We have 500 hectares available land. We're doing a next stage of irrigation, will be another 21 hectares. We run crew here, a very light crew of only 4 full-timers. Climate here in Dairy Plains, we've got the annual rainfall around 1100. We're sort of wet through from July through to September, and then we have spring in October, November, and then we irrigate from November through till March.
Yeah, so Juniper Lea, we purchased it in 2018 and actually started the development of the dairy farm 2019. So it was actually 2020 when we first started milking cows here. If we go back, obviously there was an initial investigation of the property. Was it going to be suitable for a dairy farm? Previously the farm had been run originally as a piggery, but then a cropping and grazing property. And there's quite a significant area that was actually a failed plantation that was incorporated as well. So after that initial investigation, then we started looking into some of the key factors as to what would be important in the development as a dairy farm. So that included obviously the area that we had suitable in pastures and our water resources. And from there, we went through a planning approach in terms of farm layout. One of the critical things was actually what were our water resources, because they weren't all fully established. There was the potential for bore water. Apart from the bores, there was also water available through Tasmanian irrigation water. Also, the farm has a winter water right off one of the creeks that runs through the property. So putting that all together meant that was able to establish the quantity of water, the potential area that we could irrigate, and from there gave us the confidence to move ahead with that dairy conversion. So from there we looked at the planning of the farm, the layout, centralising the cow shed, the laneways, the paddocks around that. And the other important thing in there too was that we looked at the drainage requirements on the farm. Some of the original farm was already underground drained, and so we looked at that as an important part of the development process as well. So the underground drainage, we did get an independent consultant to actually look at drainage requirements. While part of the original farm was underground drained, there was a considerable area of the failed plantation which actually failed due to waterlogging. So from that we established that on those soil types, if we were to irrigate them further, that was just going to compound this wetness issue. So the consultant determined that underground drainage was going to be the solution here. At a fairly great cost, we actually put a lot of underground drainage into that area, and I have to say we had excellent results from that. One of the issues is we need to irrigate to grow grass. Irrigation creates potential waterlogging in a non-drain situation, so the two go together, drainage and irrigation in this particular case.
Here we've got some storage within a dam. So part of the development, we built that dam up so it'll hold around 120 megs of water now. Half of that dam will fill out of gravity of winter take out of the creek, and then we top it up using the bores that we've got. So we've got 3 bores here which will put about 8.5 megs a day into the dam, and then from that dam we then utilise it on whatever pivots we need to. Part of that is we also have, I think it's 250 megs of TI water that we run one pivot off of, and we can also use that to top up the dam when needed.
If we weren't able to find bore water, the alternative was to actually build quite a large dam. I'm talking somewhere up towards 20 hectares of a turkey's nest dam would be required, which would be a massive area that would take away a lot of useful grazing area, and it would be a fairly large expense. So I was really fortunate that we actually found the bore water that we did. With that, we enlarged the dam slightly, so that provided us with basically a reservoir that we can pump water out to any of the pivots from that one central pumping point.
We sort of have a varied irrigation season depending on seasonally changes to the environment, which is everywhere now. I've got a saying, you want to be the first one on and the first one off with your pivots at the end of the season and at the start. We keep a very close eye on evapotranspiration and the soil moisture on determining when we turn the pivots on, and we found that grows a lot more grass than some of the ones that leave them a bit later. The other very critical thing here is actually turning pivots off at the right time, and having that scope of being able to catch up means that if we're forecast an inch of rain, we can actually shut down 2 days before that, and then if we don't get that full rain, we can catch up again real quickly. So it gives us a greater ability to actually take full advantage of the natural rain events that occur, and vice versa at this end of the season. Late in the season, we can run the pivots only when we really have to. We can let the ground dry out essentially, which is very important in dairy plains. So we're probably looking at starting pivot sort of in October here, at least getting some water on it. Might only be 8 to 10 mils, 2 laps, something. Come March, we're really looking at winding down the irrigation, letting the ground dry out so we can actually utilise grass into the season further by letting the cows actually not bog the paddocks up. Quite important that you do that. By having an efficient water system here, we're able to take advantage of natural rainfall throughout the season, plus the water we put on. So in the last 12 months, we've watered 3.8 megs of water out per the hectare, and we grew 14 tonnes of dry matter. So on this farm, we don't have any actual soil moisture probes in the ground, so it's about watching the evapotranspiration website, which we get from the BOM, and using a spade to actually see what the moisture content is, and we can still get good results by doing that. The solid sets is a fairly new sort of concept and design, especially the one we've got here. So it's a bit of learning about that and how we can utilise the water the best we can. So keep a very close eye on the evapotranspiration in the area to do that. The one thing we've noticed with the solid sets compared to the pivot is we have less runoff with the solid set because it puts on a much more uniformity of water over a longer period of time. So we seem to get better penetration into the soil, which we've found has increased the grass growth on them paddocks. Different challenges between the two are the solid set's got all posts in the way for contractors and that, but I'm not a contractor, so it doesn't worry me. Pivots, we have pivot ruts we have to deal with here, and broken fences, so they're always moving. So every year we get a rut buster in and we do maintenance on our pivot ruts continuously, which I think will make the longevity of the pivots much better. The ability with the solid set, it'll put on that 6 mils over a 15-hour period with the sprinklers, so it's got a greater ability to play catch up than what the pivots do. So if we have a breakdown with the motor or anything, we can catch up with the solid sets quite rapidly, and we can go putting 4 mils on every 10 hours and catch up really quick without losing the ability to get the penetration into the ground, which is what we really chase here. Now we're in our 4th season now. We've realised that we've got excess water and we've been deciding the best ways to utilise that. So part of that's going into the new solid set design, which will pick up another 22 hectares. It'll allow us to go up from 1,020 cows to thinking about peaking around 1,140 next year. So it will allow us scope to milk more cows and pick up land that's actually quite close to the dairy and milkable. And then in future, you know, I've got ambitions. We still have excess water once we free up some more capital and make some more money. We've got 70 hectares of dry land runoff block that we may end up doing something with over there. Exciting.